All right, thanks everybody for being here. Very excited for our players and that San Diego State and the Mountain West Conference have safely found a way to get back to football and give a safe and healthy way to get to playing the game that our players love. Our medical staff on campus, President Delatorre, J.D. Wicker, and the athletic administration has been amazing with a very difficult situation.
As far as rules and regulations regarding your football players, I listened to Craig Thompson, and they kind of alluded to a little bit of maybe of a bubble or some sort of protocol and rules that the players may have to follow off of the field. What are those for your team?
Well, they've been doing, Troy. They've been doing it since really the pandemic started. As far as how our guys have handled themselves, trying to stay in their different pods, trying to be mindful of wearing their mask and mindful of social distancing and hand washing. I mean, it's obviously something for an 18 to 22-year-old. Sometimes, the discipline is not there, but at the same time, I mean, every day, and I think I said it before, I'm a great put your mask on and social distance coach. That's kind of been my job.
Hey, Coach. Great to see you again.
Good to see
I just
you.
had a question about, kind of the bubble system and everything, and whether or not the Mountain West had a conversation with you guys because of that recent outbreak that happened on campus, and just what that conversation was like if it happened.
Well, really, the Mountain West, as far as my, within my preview of, being the head football coach, we talked pretty much weekly as head coaches, and we would have our discussions. But the everything that we've been told and that we're trying to do to make sure that we can be that we're going to play the game and it's going to be safe and healthy for everybody.
Are you at all concerned with just the travel element now that we have games going up in Carson and being played up there? I'm sure, I don't know if you guys will stay overnight up there or how that will happen, but just what's kind of the thought process going into that?
I personally know. I think that, we're going to make sure before we do anything that, the sanitization of buses and hotels and the people that we'll come in contact with. Obviously, there's going to be some testing three days a week that, we're all going to, all the travel party, anybody within the San Diego State travel will go through. So I feel as comfortable as anything. I don't know about you guys, but I've been on a lot of planes over the course of the last 6 months, and they seem to be pretty safe to me.
And then last question, Coach, just any idea when the schedule will come out and what that will look like?
No, I would say, and I'm guessing, so I would think in the next 5 to 6 days that would be accomplished.
Hey, Coach. During last week's press conference, you kind of mentioned like the teams in the conference were having those internal discussions of putting a season model together. So how did those talks kind of progress over the last week and lead to this decision?
Well, I think more so, as head coaches, we all made a decision that we wanted to play. Our players wanted to play. And so after we had our vote that we all would like to start on the 24th, then it, obviously Kyle worked its way up the ladder, and we can call a 4th and 1 play. We can make that decision, but in the middle of a pandemic, they're not asking us a whole lot of the medical information.
And then you also mentioned last week that rapid testing would be one, if not the biggest factor in starting a season. So what are your thoughts on the conference's effort to pair with Quest and provide those 3 antigen tests a week?
Well, I'm more worried of making sure we're getting accurate and testing that we can really rely on, and it's going to be rapid testing. As far as which companies, obviously that's out of my hands. I didn't have any choice in who we were going to use, which is fine, because that would be not a real good decision by them to ask me that.
Hey, Coach, hope all is well. From the time that you guys shut everything down, the Mountain West Conference and all that, and other conferences, up until now, what seemed to be the biggest change to where you guys said, okay, now we can do this? And do you think watching those conferences that kind of pushed through it and decided to keep playing had an influence on these conferences that are starting to come back and saying, okay, if they can do it, we can do it?
Well, I do think that probably had something to do with everybody trying to push forward. I can't, again, I can't tell you I was in any of those meetings, but I would think when we're seeing people play and, that there have been some hiccups, with, you look at Notre Dame this week and Wake Forest. I think that's part of it that we have to be able to deal with. But, when you look at, what we're doing and trying to move forward, I just know how positive it is for our players.
And speaking of that, I probably know the answer to this, but have you been able to speak with some of your players, and what is their excitement level at, and what has been their response to this decision?
They're very excited. Yeah, we've obviously thought something was going to come our way, with a real positive. So, we had 3 groups working out this morning, and we're excited about it.
Has there been any communication with local health officials in Los Angeles County for whether it be fans in the stands or what those games are going to look like?
I can't answer that question. I have no idea.
Okay. And what do you think it'll be like playing in the new stadium this season?
Well, I think it's a great place for us to go. We're excited about, our presence in Los Angeles County. From a recruiting standpoint, from some commitment standpoint, all those kind of things. And, from what I know, I have not been to that stadium, but it's a neat atmosphere from what I've been told.
Hi, Brady. I think we're like 29 days away from your first game. If this was back in August, it'd be almost the exact same window you would have had for normal practice time. The difference being, have you guys been cleared yet for a normal practice, and what kind of minimum window do you need to really get into the work that you need to get in?
Well, when the pandemic first hit and we had discussions, we all thought in 6 weeks we could have a team ready. And so we obviously we started what would be fall camp this morning with helmets and going through the acclimatization process of 2 days with helmets, 2 days with shoulder pads and helmets, and then the 5th day is full pads. But I think our guys, we've had helmets on. The NCAA changed the rule a little bit, so during the 12-hour week, we were able to be in helmets. But, when you look at the progress, our guys have really done a good job, Kirk. I'm really proud of how they've come to work every day.
It's sounding like now you can have a normal practice. Is that right?
Well, we got a ball out there. We're hitting sleds and doing those kind of things, so we're closer. A lot of that will be on the county. I think they've liked how we have progressed. Again, our administration and our medical departments have done an unbelievable job. So I think that's a big part of it.
You didn't get in most of your spring ball. So what are the biggest, now you must prioritize, what are the biggest challenges or what are the things you need to get in the next few weeks?
Yeah, the one thing I think across the country we've all got is we have been meeting all summer long. So when you look at installation and that kind of thing from a meeting perspective, we're pretty good. I think now as the timing, all those kind of things that go along with it, reactions, whether you're an offense or defense, if you're offensive guard and the three technique pinches in the A gap, how your timing is, how your targeting is. I think those things all make a difference now.
Brady, did you expect your opponents to change potentially from the conference schedule that was released before the pandemic, or would you expect the same 8 opponents?
That's a great question, John, and I really don't have that answer. I think that would be a good question with JD as they move along with the scheduling piece of it.
And then one more would be, would you expect, would it be a knock on the Mountain West champion if a Mountain West champion is only able to play 8 games and then the American champion plays 10 or 11 games? Like, how do you think that could get sorted out in a New Year's Six discussion about the number of times teams played? What kind of factor will that be?
Great question, John. I don't have the answer, but I think that's something nationally that you hear people talking about. How many games are played and the outcome of those games. Obviously, I think that will clean up a little bit as we go along. I don't know. Some of these American Conference teams, they may get paused, like we have so many other teams. So who knows? I don't know what to say. I just know we're going to October 24th. We want to kick the ball off and get on the grass.
Brady, you ready to name a starting quarterback?
No. Good question. I think we'll do that in a couple weeks.
What's the difficulty of kind of filling out that position with the way things have gone this offseason?
Well, I think, obviously we didn't get a ball till a couple of weeks ago. So watching them do that as we progress with one-on-ones and those kind of things and having a live rush against a quarterback is always a good way to get a little bit of an evaluation. So, I think as we move forward, the guys have been working hard. Like we tell our players, they're evaluated on everything they do. From making sure they're picking up their books on the right day they're supposed to pick up books. I mean, everything they do, they're evaluated because that tells us how much trust we can have.
Could the battle come a little bit within a game, within week one?
No, I would think before week one, Judson, we would plan to have that done.
We're talking to Mountain West officials. They use words like nimble and phrases like on the fly when they're talking about scheduling and things. How much do you have to set aside, a normal expectation as a coach? Usually your opponents well in advance. You're able to really prepare for them. Now, you might only know your several of those opponents within a week or two. How much do you have to set aside in a normal circumstance to just appreciate that you get to play?
Well, I mean, we appreciate the heck being able to get out there and play. I mean, number one, we've had a lot of time as a staff on both sides of the ball to really go through all the Mountain West teams, at least 2 or 3 games. There's 3 teams that we had already broken down completely. And from that first schedule that was sent out, and then also looking, you take UNLV, a new head coach from Oregon, right? I mean, we've got to make sure as we go through it, what we're looking at from what they did at their other schools. And so we've gone that far, Kirk, with it.
And the other thing I was going to ask, you guys have 8 weeks to play 8 games. Craig Thompson says he doesn't think all 12 schools will get that in because of various circumstances. Could you see a situation, and would you be for this, if, let's say, 2 games couldn't be played because opponents aren't available, where those 2 just all of a sudden said that week, okay, we'll match up? Would you say that there should be enough flexibility they could even do something like that, or is that a little bit too much?
I'd be surprised how that would happen. I really haven't thought far enough out there. We're trying to put together what we want to look like this afternoon out on the field. So from that perspective, we're hoping that everybody gets to play, that all 8 games, everybody gets to get those 8 games in.
Yeah, I was just wondering how crazy this could get to where rather than having a couple schools sitting at home who could technically play that week, in order to get some games in, you might even have the flexibility to do something like that on the fly.
Yeah, well, again, I got a feeling I won't be making that decision.
You have both new offensive and defensive coordinators. How is it going putting both of that in from both sides of the ball? And are they obviously they're behind where you would have been, but how do you kind of speed up that process to really be ready to go on October 24th?
Well, the good thing, if there was any good thing, we've had a lot of meetings, and the installation, from meeting perspective, not on the field, the actual perspective, but we've got a lot of defense that's been put in. We're going through it again. A lot of offense that we're going through those installations probably 2 or 3 times by now.
Coach, you referenced some practice right now. Are you able to practice as what you would consider a normal practice right now? Or when's the first time you can do that? Or are they giving you the clearance to do that? And do you have clearance from the local community officials to do what you might call a normal practice right now?
We are, today is our first acclimation day with helmets. Like I said before, we are throwing the ball. We are doing some things 7-on-7. There's some no contact and all of those kind of things that we are being very aware of. So I think we're progressing. I think the county has been very happy with how we have done things to this point. So, we'll take it day by day.
So there's no timeline, like you can't say at this point, like next Friday will be our first day we can actually practice as normal. That hasn't been decided yet.
No, not yet.
Hi Brady, I'm not sure of all the rules. Are coaches required to wear masks on the sidelines?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think the NFL, didn't they fine them $100,000?
$100,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. We all during practice all the time. We're in mask. I had my mask on before I came in here. So we're all trying to do what we can do to help stop the pandemic.
Is it easy for you? Have you noticed yourself like taking it off and throwing it and getting frustrated, or is it just really a work in progress?
Marty, I haven't thrown it yet, but that might be coming sometime here soon. But it's you get used to it like anything else in life. And in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, what's best for the guys? What's best for these kids to be able to go play? And so we've got to be an example of that. And, if we're on their ass all the time about, putting their mask on and social distancing, we have to do the same thing. Believe me, I yell at the coaches as much as I'm yelling at players.
Brady, what kind of protocols have you put in place? Once you pick your starting quarterback, does the backup kind of keep his distance more so that he doesn't catch something if there's an outbreak? Or what are the protocols to keep it so you'll still have a quarterback available?
Well, we're still virtual learning. All virtual meetings, all Zoom meetings. There's some thought that we can have some actual meetings. We have a couple auditoriums that are pretty big that we can space guys, and the ventilation's good and everything that the county looks at. But we're trying right now just to keep everybody as safe as we can in as much of a pod as we can, doing everything virtually.
So like in your quarterback room, when we get closer to game day, will there be any changes though to assure that you'd have a quarterback available if there was any kind of breakout? Well,
yeah. We're gonna prepare, and it's always been a next man up. So we're assuming, which is bad to assume, but I know those guys are going to be working their tails off because they're competitors.
What about as far as the coaching staff? I think I saw one head coach tested positive, and so they might have to have is like an assistant take over for him. What would be the line of succession for you guys?
Oh, Coach Horton would be the guy that I would go to if something happened to me. I have been tested and I am fine.